What is up, guys? Welcome back here in Call of Dragons. In today's video, we are going to talk about the Elixir healing. Because now that it's been dropped in here, there's been a few changes in the gameplay of how we play Call of Dragons. We're no longer waiting for our troops to be healed in here by the system. We are now going to be healing our units by using the Elixir item or the Elixir potion. So, one thing that I want to put this out here before we get really started into the video. My name is Shinchi42. If you guys like Call of Dragons, consider subscribing, smack that like as well. And my biggest point in here to say in the start of the video is that whatever we do, if you are not a big spender, if you are a whale, you're always going to have a disadvantage against the big spender. But this free Elixir healing, what they have done is very interesting. Because some players might see this bad, but here's the thing. If you put both whales together, side by side, one is more active than the other, one will then suffer more than the other with this Elixir healing. So this is forcing players to be active by putting this Elixir healing. I think that's what the developers are trying to do for Call of Dragons. So let's talk about first, what is Elixir? All right, so the Elixir is this item. You can get this from the Merit store. That's the way you can get the Elixir item from the Merit store. It is not by the production of the hospital. All right. This item that you have, it's not produced by the hospital. It is obtained through the Merit store by doing combat, and you will buy it from here. Now, these elixirs can be used to heal your troops in the hospital. Now, you see this in here over onto the top where I have 90,000 capacity here. So that means if I want to heal here, let's just heal this one up, all my knights. You can see I've consumed that. Those were produced by the free Elixir healing in the hospital. All right. Now, if I want to use my potions, I can click here. As you can see, we have 22 here. Let's click the potion. If I put 1,000 there, you can see it increase. So that's me consuming my potions, and that will increase this. What this indicates is that I can only heal 90k for a batch. So this is by batch. But then the recovery rate for this is then divided by 4 with this. So if you divide 363,639 by 4, you will get this amount of number. So we go here. 363,639 divided by 4, you can see 90,909, which is the capacity of what I can do. So what this does is that it limits players from healing so many troops all at once for free. All right, so the activity comes to play for this part. Let's say you are fighting and then you have over like 200k troops inside, and you wait for a day and you don't really heal it using the Elixir free healing. Then you are just going to sit there with that amount of, units until you actually consume the free ones that you generate every day. So you have to consume every time that you go into combat so that you can regenerate this amount that the hospital will be producing. But the nice thing about this is that there is a capacity so that people cannot abuse the whole thing in here. This is what they tried to do. Now, it was 65k in the first update. They adjusted it to where it reflects to how much you have in the hospital production in here. And one thing to mention in here is that the daily free elixir that you can get, is 2 million. So if this is about 2 million, imagine you have 2 million, you divide it by 4, then you will get 500,000 right away onto the healing that you can do. So 500k per batch, basically at the maximum level of this when you have 2 million elixir production per day. So what Call of Dragons have done is that it is going to be 6 hours to finish up the whole batch. So basically 6 times 4 is 24 hours, which is perfect. Now that's what they have decided to do. Now, how can you increase the elixir healings in here? It kind of tells us over here. You increase your hospital's level. That will increase your free healing per day. And that will also, of course, increase your resource healing as well. And then another thing is the policies. And then, of course, if you get some buff as well, let's say you have a behemoth that buffs it, you have a rune that buffs it, those are going to help out as well. You can see you can go to the policies. You should be working on to the free healings in here, free elixir healings. I would prefer that rather than the resource healing. As you can see, for my part, I have all the elixir healing. Well, I was doing the free healing and then it just converts into the elixir healing in here. Now, those are very important thing to understand here, especially if you're free to play. Go for the free elixir healing rather than going for the resource healing, because you're going to be consumed so much of resources and you're not going to progress within the game if you just keep using resource healing. One thing that I want to mention in here, with the troops, it is time for you guys to upgrade your troops. If you guys have your lower tier troops in here, please upgrade them right away, or at least, you know, in the progress of doing that. You don't want to keep those lower tier units. The reason why with the healing, let's say you can see the conversion in here, 1-to-1 ratio, right? I'm healing a level 2 knight in here for same amount if I have a T5 or if I have T4. So it is better than to have a higher tier units, because then you're doing a 1-to-1 ratio. You don't want to be consuming all your T2 knights with, you know, the elixir healing in here, right? So you want to get the highest tier possible. Before, it's a little bit different. When you're healing a lower tier and a higher tier, there was some discrepancies there. But now, as we can see, it is a 1-to-1 ratio. So you don't want to keep these lower tier units now in your city. One thing I like about this as well, in the healing in here with the elixir, we can now do a selective healing in comparison to the free healing that we saw. With the free healing, the system decides on what units get to be healed. Let's say I fight here. I have my marksman, my mage, my infantry, my cabs, my flying units. So what I can do then, I can select, right, which units I really need the most, and I can heal them similarly to resource healing. So I think that is a key factor in this elixir healing, is that being able to select what type of healing that you want and need for the march that is needed for that specific moment. So I think in that part, I think makes it really, really good what Call of Dragons have done. As I mentioned in the very, very early stage of this video, is the importance of activity. If you are not very active and you go into combat and then you don't heal it, or you're not very active for the whole day as well, or you have, or let's say you have an excess in there and then you wait for like more than 6 hours and you don't heal after consuming the first batch, then you are letting your troops sit there in the hospital not being healed, and your elixir is going to cap out and you're not going to produce any extra above the maximum elixir that you are producing. Therefore, your healing rate will then slow down if you are not very active. So my suggestion in here, if you take the game a little bit serious when it comes to the free elixir healing, if you go into combat, make sure that you go back in after a few hours and to keep healing your units, because you don't want to be stuck with so many troops in the base and not use your free healing. Then you're going to end up resulting on using your reserves. My tip also to you guys is to always buy the reserves in here in the merit store. I call them reserves, but this is the elixir. Just buy the elixir, save them up, use them in times where it is a huge battle when you really need it. If you don't really need it, don't just use it recklessly, because there are going to be situations where you are going to need more of your troops. So when the demand is increasing, that's the only time that you should be using the elixir. If the demand of troops, like for example, right now we are fighting here with the Frutas in here, but it is not really very demanding. I can pace myself in here and I can just, you know, heal batch by batch rather than using my elixir healings. What I would do for this one, I would wait for a strongest lord event and use these, because that's going to be more intense fighting on those type of days, and I can get more points as well for the kill event, as I have a lot more reserves in the elixir. So that's my biggest tip for you guys here for the elixir healing. I don't think the elixir healing is extremely that bad. It also puts some differentiation for the whales in here. Who's more active and who's not will get, you know, basically slap in the wrist in here for not being super active. So it puts the whales to be more active in the game, which is a good thing in my opinion. So let me know what you guys think about the elixir healing. Hopefully I covered everything here pretty well. Besides that, my friends in Call of Dragons, hopefully you guys are enjoying the game. Let me know in the comment section below. I'll see you guys again next time. Don't forget to smack that like and subscribe.